Welcome to this deep dive. You asked us to explore lasting longer and increasing pleasure during sex. So that's exactly what we're doing today.
Mm-hmm.
Our source for this is 10 Steps to Longer Sex, a book for men on improving pleasure and delaying ejaculation by Brian Thomas.
Right. Ryan Thomas, he's a sex and masculinity consultant, and he also hosts the Modern Sex Talks podcast.
Okay.
The book had help from editors Chris Solacek and Peter Diviatan, and there's a little fun fact in there, the cover art by J.P. Chow.
Yeah.
Apparently it's not a rooster. He mentions it on page 6. Just a little inside joke, I guess.
Okay. Good to know.
And the book's from 2016, copyright-wise.
Gotcha. What really struck me first off was how direct it is. It's very no-nonsense.
Yeah.
Almost like getting advice from, an older brother or maybe a mentor figure down the pub.
Totally. He even gives a heads up, doesn't he? Says he's not pulling punches, and some ideas might feel a bit unsettling.
Exactly. A disclaimer right at the start.
And it's important to stress, this book isn't about shaming anyone's current sex life. Right. It's aimed squarely at people who want to last longer, for themselves and for their partners.
And he defines involuntary ejaculation pretty simply, doesn't he?
Yeah, basically anytime you want it to last longer but didn't. It takes away some of that clinical pressure, I think.
Yeah, it does. So our mission here in this deep dive is basically to pull out the key insights, the actionable stuff from the book.
Mm-hmm. Practical steps.
Exactly. To help you gain more control, enhance your experiences. We're focusing on the practical advice, maybe some surprising angles.
Yeah, without getting totally bogged down in theory.
Right. Okay, so let's get into it. Where does he start?
Well, he kind of sets the scene first, talking about men, sex, and this idea of involuntary ejaculation.
Okay.
He throws out his statistic, men lasting, on average, about 5 minutes in penetrative sex.
Wow, 5 minutes.
Yeah, and contrasts that with women often needing more time, different kinds of stimulation, to orgasm. It's a common gap.
That makes sense. And you mentioned he uses Esther Perel's term, involuntary ejaculation.
Exactly. He prefers that to premature ejaculation. Feels less loaded,
Yeah, definitely less clinical or judgmental.
And he explores why it happens. It could be nerves, anxiety.
Sure, the obvious stuff.
Right? Or maybe being a bit out of touch with your own arousal signals, not quite managing sensitivity.
Okay.
But then he goes a bit deeper, too. He touches on potential unconscious factors.
Like what?
Things like maybe underlying selfishness or even to self-worth challenges. Like maybe subconsciously feeling you don't deserve that prolonged pleasure or connection.
Interesting. That's digging deeper than just technique.
Definitely. But he makes a really important point early on.
Yeah.
This is a guy who sometimes finishes quickly, but knows how to please his partner in other ways, hands, mouth, attentiveness.
Right.
Is still a way better lover than some selfish guy who can last for ages but doesn't actually care about her experience.
That's a great perspective. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? Away from just the clock.
Totally. It's about the whole experience, the connection, the generosity, not just PIV duration.
And he pushes back on the idea that sex is purely about the orgasm, right?
Yeah, he poses this thought experiment. Would you rather have long, super pleasurable sex without an ejaculatory orgasm forever?
Okay.
Or just a quick 30-second ejaculatory orgasm for life?
Huh. That really makes you think about what you value more, the journey or just the destination.
Exactly. And he links this to how we frame sex mentally. If it's all about pressure and performance.
Then you tense up, rush things.
Right. But if you can link it more to play, fun, relaxation, things naturally tend to last longer. Stress is a killer for staying power.
Makes total sense.
So the bottom line is getting control over when you come boosts your prowess, your pleasure. And he even hints at multiple non-ejaculatory orgasms being possible.
Okay, multiple orgasms. That's
Yeah.
intriguing. We'll have to unpack that.
Yeah, it opens up a whole different way of thinking about sexual pleasure and endurance.
All right, so after setting that stage, he shares his own story, doesn't he?
He does. And it's quite revealing. He actually says early on, he lasted for ages, like hours, with his first girlfriend. Didn't even understand the concept of finishing too quickly.
Wow. So the opposite problem initially.
Kind of, yeah. But then, in his mid-20s, things shifted. Anxiety crept in. Societal pressure, fear of being, the one-minute man, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that pressure is real.
And he admits his self-worth got tangled up with his bedroom performance. If sex wasn't good, he felt like less of a man.
I think a lot of guys can probably relate to that feeling, even if they don't talk about it.
Totally. He mentions needing booze or trying to mentally check out just to last longer, especially if you really like the person.
Detachment as a strategy. Not ideal.
Not at all. Then he talks about this pivotal moment with his girlfriend, Katie, a real miscommunication.
What happened?
He tried to talk about wanting to last longer, for both of them, feeling anxious about it.
Okay, try and be open.
Yeah, but she apparently heard it as him saying he wasn't enjoying sex with her.
Ooh, that backfired.
Big time. Led to more anxiety, but it taught him a huge lesson about clear, concise communication.
You really have to be careful how you phrase things, especially sensitive stuff.
Definitely. He gives an example of what he should have said, something like, hey, I feel like I'm not lasting very long. I get anxious because I really want you to have a good time and I want to last longer for both of us. Can you help me?
Much clearer. Vulnerable, but direct.
Exactly. After that, he says he tried basically everything to calm down and get control.
Like what?
Oh, reframing sex mentally, drinking, not drinking, self-talk, dissociation, even trying anger, going slow, self-hypnosis, pre-ejaculation. The list goes on.
Wow, he really experimented.
He did. And eventually that led him to discovering Tantra and the whole idea of non-ejaculatory orgasms.
Ah, okay, so that was the turning point.
Seems like it. He says it helped him finally understand his arousal patterns, gain control, and get his confidence back.
It makes the advice feel more grounded, knowing he went through all that himself.
For sure, it gives it authenticity. And that journey led him to really dissect what's going on physically and mentally, which brings us to the orgasm function.
Okay, the orgasm function. What's the key idea here?
The absolute core distinction is separating ejaculation, the physical release from orgasm, the mental neurological experience of pleasure.
Right. They often happen together, but they aren't the same thing.
Exactly. He uses examples like wet dreams, orgasms amputees might feel in a missing limb, even mouthgasms, some women describe.
Okay, interesting examples.
Or even orgasm just through thought alone, which he admits kind of blew his mind at first. It shows how much is happening in the brain and nervous system.
It really underscores the mind-body connection in sex.
Totally. Then he gives a quick biology lesson, sperm traveling, prostate spasms, pre-cum, PC muscles tightening.
The build-up.
Right, pleasure centers firing, leading to that point of no return and the contractions that expel semen. He includes some memorable diagrams here, too.
Ah, yes, the sad penis figures. He wasn't kidding about not being able to unsee them. Yeah. But the main takeaway is pleasure exists before ejaculation. The buildup feels good, right?
Of course.
So ejaculation isn't required for orgasm. Think about those sleep orgasms. Or people who physically can't ejaculate but still feel orgasmic pleasure.
Okay, that's a crucial point.
And this leads him to the arousal arc concept and becoming aware of what he calls mini orgasms.
Mini orgasms.
Yeah, those initial prostate spasms, the sensations that happen before the point of no return. Learning to recognize and work with those is key to control.
So it's about tuning into the early signals.
Exactly. And he says, with practice, these mini orgasms can become intensely pleasurable in themselves. He even shares his own experience of feeling his prostate fill and being able to consciously stop things right before ejaculation.
That's a pretty high level of body awareness.
It is. And he lists the benefits. More pleasure, lasting longer, feeling energized afterwards instead of wiped out.
Energized. That's counterintuitive for most guys, I
Yeah.
think. Right. Plus maybe increased focus, even potentially higher testosterone, better sleep, more confidence. The supercock effect, as he puts it.
Okay, supercock. Got it. So understanding that difference, understanding those mini orgasms, that sets us up for the first practical step.
Precisely. Step 1, know your arousal arc.
All right, let's dive into it. How do you actually do that?
He starts with another story, a second date, where he felt overly sensitive after a dry spell. It highlighted how arousal isn't always consistent.
Right, context matters.
And he contrasts this with times he used to just ignore the signals or focus too much on performance or just be disconnected from his body.
Which leads to unpredictable results.
Exactly. So first he introduces the classic 5 stages from Mantak Chia's work: desire, arousal, plateau, orgasm, resolution. Highly recommends that book, by the way.
The multi-orgasmic man.
That's the one. He mentions a technique from it called the big draw for slowing things down, but doesn't go deep on it to keep his book focused. But then he offers a more, maybe practical tool for day-to-day awareness. Jordan Gray's 10-point arousal scale.
Okay, how does that work?
Simple scale. 1 is not aroused at all. 4 to 7 is basically the arousal phase, hard, turned on.
Got it.
8 is the plateau, right on the edge, just about to climax. 9 is the point of no return, ejaculatory orgasm is happening. And 10 is resolution afterwards.
So 1 to 10. Simple enough.
Yeah, but here's the catch. He says most guys aren't really conscious of the nuances between, say, a 6 and a 9. It all feels like about to come.
It just ramps up really fast sometimes.
Right. So the goal of step 1 is to get really familiar with those levels, especially recognizing what an 8 feels like so you can consciously dial it back before hitting 9.
Okay, so developing that internal awareness. How?
Okay.
Through practice.
Exactly. He lays out specific masturbation exercises. First, get aroused, but ideally without using porn.
Why no porn?
He suggests using images of crushes, ideal partners, past partners, something more personal. Porn can be a crutch, and the goal is internal control, not relying on external high-stimulus stuff.
Makes sense. Okay, so get aroused. Then what?
Then, practice actively shifting between levels. Masturbate up to a 7, then consciously bring it back down to a 5. Pay attention to your heart rate, breathing, physical sensations.
Like reps in a gym, but for arousal control?
Kind of, yeah. Then, exercise 3 is to ride that wave between 5 and 8. Go up to 8, back down to 5, repeatedly for maybe 15-20 minutes.
Training the body to stay in that pleasurable zone without going over?
Exactly. Building endurance for pleasure. And while doing this, pay attention to your breathing, especially at level 8.
Belly breaths, not chest breaths, right?
Keep it calm and steady. Chest breathing signals stress.
Okay. Then exercise 5.
This is crucial. When you hit that 8, really feel the pleasure, but consciously relax into it. Don't tense up thinking, oh no, gotta stop. Redefine 8 as intense pleasure, not immediate ejaculation danger.
That's a mental shift, isn't it? Learning to trust that feeling?
Huge mental shift. Then, start noticing those PC muscle spasms, the mini orgasms. He promises they get stronger and more pleasurable with practice, maybe even better than ejaculation after a few weeks.
Wow, okay. Takes practice, though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Exercise 7 is actively flexing those TC muscles hard at different arousal levels. Feel the extra pleasure, gain control over the spasms. Think of it like controlling a valve.
Right, strengthening that control muscle.
And there's a more advanced step, number 8. While flexing at high arousal, try to feel the pleasure moving up from your genitals into your lower spine, surging upwards.
Okay, that sounds a bit more esoteric.
A little, yeah, more energetic focus. Number 9 is just recognizing all the bodily signs of approaching 8, tingling, warmth, pulsing. That's the orgasmic energy he talks about.
So becoming really attuned to the physical signals.
Exactly. And the final exercise for this step, finish the masturbation session without ejaculating.
Oh, okay. Intentionally not finishing.
Right. Train your brain and body that intense pleasure doesn't have to end in ejaculation. It builds that sense of energized focus instead.
What about the dreaded blue balls?
Huh. He addresses that. Recommends a technique finger cock ring at the base, firm tugs down and sideways while flexing the PC, then a gentle testicle massage for blood flow. Sounds complex, but he says it gets easy.
Good to know there's a workaround. So how often should you do these exercises?
He suggests 4 or 5 times a week. And it's okay to ejaculate sometimes, after you've done the practice between 5 and 8.
So not total denial, just focused practice.
Right. He guarantees after a month, your awareness and pleasure will increase. The goal is to eventually comfortably ride the wave between 7 and 8, even pushing towards 8.5.
Okay, but masturbation is different from sex with a partner, right? Starting and stopping isn't always easy.
True. He acknowledges that and says later steps cover managing arousal during partnered sex. But this solo practice builds the foundation.
He shares another story here, doesn't he? About slowing down during sex.
Yeah, with his last girlfriend. Slowing, thrusting, or stopping completely during those non-ejaculatory waves to really feel the energy. Staying present is key.
Not thinking about baseball scores.
Exactly. Avoid distracting thoughts.
Yeah.
It disconnects you, and your partner feels it. He uses an analogy.
Yeah.
Like building alcohol tolerance. You build pleasure tolerance by staying present with the sensations.
Okay, that makes sense. Build the tolerance. So that's step 1, foundational stuff. What's step 2?
Step 2 is relearn orgasm and energy. This builds directly on that foundation.
Right, the energy part. He knows it might sound a bit ooh. Right.
He does. He acknowledges the skepticism, but insists it's a real, felt experience, not abstract.
How does he define it again?
As something tangible, felt in the body, like emotions. Heat, tingling, pulsing, coolness, those kinds of sensations.
Okay, physical sensations.
And orgasmic energy is that wild, surging feeling from the mini orgasms. It leads to feeling energized, directed, focused, not just generically horny.
So different from just feeling pent up.
Exactly. He contrasts that chaotic horniness, which ejaculation releases, often leaving you tired, with this circulating, powerful sexual energy from non-ejaculatory orgasms, which can be invigorating.
And the benefits are?
Reiterates them.
Hmm.
No need for ejaculation for intense pleasure, long-lasting pleasure, energy surges, feeling powerful, sexual magnetism, feeling energized, all that good stuff.
Okay, so step 2 is really about embracing this different understanding of orgasm and the energy associated with it.
Yeah, shifting the internal definition and recognizing those subtler energetic sensations.
Got it. What's step 3?
Step 3, learn how to relax. This sounds simple, but it's critical.
Because tension leads to quicker ejaculation.
Exactly. Tension is a major contributor. And interestingly, he says don't just focus on relaxing the PC muscles.
No, what then?
Relax the big muscle groups, shoulders, legs, back. When they relax, the PC muscles often follow automatically.
Okay. Systemic relaxation.
Right. And there's a link between physical tension and mental anxiety. Tension feeds performance pressure. Relaxation brings calm, presence.
Makes sense. When you're relaxed, you're not in your head worrying.
Precisely. He suggests thinking back to time sex lasted longer. You were probably calmer.
Right, probably, yeah. Less stressed.
So start with relaxing the body. The mind often follows. He uses that analogy again. Don't hit the tree.
Right. Trying not to come can make you focus on it and tense up.
Exactly. Instead, feel the pleasure rise to 8 and consciously relax with it. Trust that it's pleasure, not immediate doom once you've practiced step 1.
Get comfortable with feeling good, basically. Don't fear the pleasure.
That's it. Get comfortable with pleasure. He also mentions positive beliefs help mental relaxation, which helps physical relaxation, tying into later steps.
Okay, so relaxation is key. What follows that? Step 4.
Step 4. Learn how to breathe. Closely related to relaxation, obviously.
How does breathing affect ejaculation specifically?
Well, holding your breath tightens muscles. That's a stress response. Plus, it starves your body of oxygen. He suggests the body might perceive this lack of oxygen as a danger signal, subconsciously speeding things up.
Yeah.
Well, get it over with so you can breathe again. A survival thing.
Interesting physiological take.
Yeah. So, proper breathing, relaxation plus oxygenation, win-win.
And it's belly breathing again, right?
Yes. Connects chest breathing to stress, anxiety, fear. Belly breathing connects to calm, confidence, relaxation.
So focus on belly breathing when arousal hits 5 or 6 and try to maintain it.
That's the advice. Keep that calm breathing pattern going as things heat up.
Any other breathing tips?
Yeah, make noise, talking, moaning.
Forces you to exhale, releases energy.
Exactly. Don't be the strong, silent type, necessarily. Vocalizing helps regulate breath and release tension. Moan. Compliment her. Talk dirty. Doesn't have to be screaming. Just breathe out loud.
Okay, relax and breathe. Seems fundamental. What's step 5? Power cocking.
Step 5, power cocking. Now we're into physical training for the penis itself.
Okay, Kegels.
He mentions Kegels, but says, for him, just doing standard Kegels didn't make a huge difference for lasting longer.
Oh, so what did?
He found that squeezing the PC muscles really hard when he was at a 7 or just before an 8 helped control the spasms. Though he clarifies, it won't stop a full-on ejaculation once that point of no return, level 9, is hit.
So intense squeezing at the right moment, not just gentle flexes.
Seems to be his experience.
Yeah.
He defines Kegels clearly stopping pee midstream, holding back a fart, you know, the ones.
Yep.
Describes the muscle location and how you can learn to isolate different parts closer to the anus for prostate pleasure, closer to the testicles to slow spasms.
Okay. And the benefits of stronger PCs.
Harder erections, more pleasurable orgasms, both kinds.
Mm-hmm.
Better ejaculation control, more types of pleasure, a more versatile cock like squeezing your partner internally.
Right.
And potentially even a slight size increased length and girth. Not magic, but from better blood flow and reaching full engorgement because you're not ejaculating too quickly.
Okay, so multiple benefits. What's the routine he suggests?
Start simple. Weeks 1 to 2. 3 sets of 10 reps, just flexing, no erection needed, 30-sec rests, a few times a day.
Got it.
Weeks 2, 3 onwards, flex and hold as hard as possible for 5 seconds, 5 times 3 sets.
Getting more intense.
Yeah. And then the advanced version, hang a towel off a hard penis and lift it. Start with a tea towel, maybe work up to a beach towel. 3 sets of 10 reps.
Huh. Okay, that's dedication. The towel lift.
Then he introduces the $1 million point.
Yes, I remember this from the outline. Where is it exactly?
In the perineum, that spot between the anus and the testicles.
Okay. And what do you do with it?
Press firmly on it when you feel yourself nearing an 8. It can apparently interrupt the spasms and delay ejaculation. He quotes Mantek Chia again on how to find and use it even during intercourse without pulling out.
Why million-dollar point? Is it really that valuable?
Energetically, in
Mhm.
Tantra and Taoism, yeah.
Mm.
The idea is that retaining sexual energy, not losing it through ejaculation, boosts creative energy, focus, potentially even financial success, hence the name. He suggests more reading if you're into that side of things.
Interesting connection. Any other quick fixes in this step?
Mentions that testicles rise as you near ejaculation. Gently pulling them down and away might help temporarily. Refers to a diagram for that.
Okay.
And a desperate measures technique.
Mm.
If you're really close, like a solid 8 or 9, pull out quickly and press your thumb firmly on the very top of the penis head.
How?
Might be slightly uncomfortable, he says, but should drop arousal quickly. Not ideal, but a panic button, maybe.
Okay, lots of physical techniques there. Power cocking. What's step 6?
Step 6, stop thrusting. Simple advice, but maybe counterintuitive.
Stop thrusting, but isn't that the point?
He argues against the porn myth of just constant hard thrusting until climax.
Okay.
Says it can get irritating, predictable, and actually offers limited stimulation compared to other movements. He even brings up the rep of Latino lovers being great with hip movement beyond just in and out.
So mix it up.
Yeah, grind more. Move hips back and forth and side to side. Play with angles, shallow versus deep with smaller thrusts.
And this helps you last longer.
Often, yes. The different sensations don't push you towards the edge as relentlessly as constant thrusting. Plus, it can be more pleasurable for her too.
Okay, grinding, varying angles. Good tip. Is there ever a time to keep thrusting?
Yes, big exception. If she's having a vaginal orgasm. Unless she asks you to stop, keep going. He shares experiences of women appreciating the continued stimulation during their orgasm.
Right. Don't leave her hanging mid-orgasm. Makes sense.
And if you do need to pull back before she orgasms, switch to hands or mouth immediately to help her finish.
Got it. Anything else in this step?
Changing positions can also help delay things, gives you a breather, but don't just constantly switch. He jokes about the scorpion position helping him because he's focused on not falling over.
Huh. Focus on balance, not orgasm. Okay, step 7. This one sounds intriguing. Tie her arousal to your comfort.
Yeah, this one's psychological. It tackles how her sounds or reactions might trigger your ejaculation.
The Pavlovian response thing.
Exactly. He suggests some homework involving listening to porn, but after you've done the step 1 work of knowing your own body first,
Okay, why listen to porn then?
to decondition that response. In porn, her peak ecstasy sounds often line up exactly with his ejaculation, right?
Usually, yeah.
Which trains your brain, her peak with your finish line. So he suggests ways to break that link. One is a mental reframe.
What's the reframe?
Internally, privately frame it like she needs to come for you first. It's a power dynamic shift, he admits, but keep it internal. The goal isn't to never come first, just to break the automatic trigger.
Okay, a mental trick.
And he says, notice what emotions come up when you try that thought. It might reveal self-worth stuff or weird beliefs about women.
Interesting self-reflection prompt. What's the other technique?
Listen to porn or similar audio when you're already aroused, like a 7 or 8. Then when you hear her peak arousal sounds, consciously bring your arousal down to a 5 or 6, or just stay calm at 5 or 6 while listening.
So you're anchoring her peak sounds to your state of calm, not your ejaculation.
Exactly. Instead of her orgasm triggering yours, you link it to your control and relaxation. You can also try linking her pleasure to your feelings of pride or confidence, counteracting anxiety.
Okay, retraining the association.
Yeah. Do this listening exercise a few times a week. His closing line for this step is memorable. Now your dick is the bell and her pussy is drooling.
Okay, very evocative.
No.
Right, step 8 seems crucial. Understand your value as a man.
Absolutely. This tackles the underlying self-worth issues head on. He debunks the myth that your value text size plus duration.
Yeah, we touched on that.
He shares his own experience with ED due to depression as proof that value lies elsewhere. Suggests asking women what really makes a good man, lover, partner. It's rarely the simplistic, big dick lasts forever trope, unless maybe jokingly.
Right. Connection, kindness, attention.
Exactly. He also slams the idea of sexual performance. Sex should be shared, not one person performing for another, especially a lazy lover, as he puts it.
Good point. It takes 2.
And this pressure on men to perform for her pleasure, he argues it actually disempowers women, making them passive recipients. Better to support her sexual growth.
Interesting take.
And here's a big one. You have zero obligation to her pleasure.
Whoa. Okay. That sounds harsh.
But wait, being generous and attentive makes you a great lover. Obligation makes it transactional. It's about having sex with her, not to her or for her.
Ah, okay. Generosity versus obligation. Subtle but important difference.
And anxiety about finishing quickly often comes from valuing her perceived judgment over your own self-worth,
Right.
based on a story you've made up about what she expects.
Right, projecting our own fears onto her.
So cultivate your value outside the bedroom, independent of her approval. What makes you a good man, lover, partner? Focus on those traits. He recommends Brandon's 6 pillars of self-esteem.
So build internal validation.
Yes, because her pleasure becomes easier when you focus on how you make her feel emotionally, erotically. Great sex is full of emotion, eroticism, not just mechanics. Focus on making her feel desired, seen, connected.
Okay, powerful stuff. Step 9 seems more straightforward. Use your mouth and hands.
Yeah, very practical. His point, lesbians have great sex lives without penises. So clearly, sex is more than PIV.
Good point.
You can penetrate her with intent, desire, presence, using mouth, hands, toys, massage.
So develop your skills beyond intercourse.
Absolutely. Key takeaway. If you're good with your fingers and mouth, finishing PIV quickly becomes much less of a big deal for her overall satisfaction.
Takes the pressure off intercourse lasting forever. Okay, step 10. Forgive yourself and past partners. This sounds deep.
It is. Crucial psychological work. Forgiveness isn't weak. It's acceptance of what happened, not condoning it, to release the negative emotions tied to it.
Acceptance, not approval.
Right. And forgive and forget. Forgetting means you don't learn.
True.
He explains how fighting fears, like being ridiculed for coming early, actually strengthens them, leads to self-sabotage. Remember, it's usually worse in our heads. Builds self-worth outside the bedroom.
Right. Detach your value from that specific outcome.
Accept potential outcomes. Remember your value. Forgive yourself for past failures. Introduce compassion, understanding without judgment, like the puppy chewing the shoe analogy.
Understand why it happened, even if it wasn't ideal.
Apply that to yourself. Accept past early finishes. Have compassion. Less importance placed on ejaculation, paradoxically easier to last longer.
Interesting. And compassion for desire itself.
Yeah. Countering beliefs that arousal is predatory or shameful. Those beliefs can make you subconsciously want sex to end quickly. Trust she's there willingly, can say no. Forgive yourself for negative thoughts about arousal. Healthy women like sex. Your arousal is normal.
Okay. What about unconscious anger?
He explores if involuntary ejaculation could sometimes stem from buried anger towards women from past hurts, teasing, feeling unseen.
Deeper still.
And extend forgiveness to past partners, too. Accept what happened. Have compassion by understanding their possible motivations, insecurity causing harshness, etc. He shares the story of an ex apologizing later.
Holding on to negativity just attracts more negativity, right?
Exactly. Forgiving past hurts opens space for better relationships. And forgive yourself for the anxieties themselves your psyche was trying to protect you, even if misguidedly.
Understand the fear's protective intent.
Right. He offers the Ho'oponopono mantra, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you.
That's
Useful tool. Recommends radical forgiveness by call-in tipping and researching Ho'oponopono more, as it's a complex topic.
okay, that's a lot on forgiveness. Very important. Now for the bonus sections. First one is use anger. Seems counterintuitive for sex.
It does initially, but he explains healthy anger. Uses a gun analogy. Dangerous, untrained, useful tool with training.
Controlled versus uncontrolled anger.
Right. Anger the state versus aggression. Destructive action. Anger doesn't equal hate.
So how can anger help with lasting longer?
He argues it's a powerful tool against anxiety in sex and life. Anger can diminish concern for others' opinions or consequences. He mentions anxiety, depression, sometimes seen as anger without enthusiasm. Feeling the anger can dissipate the anxiety.
Interesting perspective.
Huge caveat, though. No aggression towards partners, physical, verbal, mental, emotional, ever. But feeling anger internally to fight anxiety, okay? Use it carefully, playfully even, to reduce worry.
Okay, use anger internally against anxiety, not externally against partner. Got it. Bonus, #2. Be careful what you say.
This is about the unconscious mind taking language literally, the don't think of a pig elephant problem.
So telling yourself don't come is counterproductive.
Exactly. Unconscious focuses on come. He uses a funny pigeon playing chess analogy for the unconscious messing things up while seeming to help.
Okay, so what should you say?
Positive self-talk. Enjoy it. Breathe. Relax.
Right.
Or just relax. Or longer, 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 while visualizing and feeling the desired outcome.
Focus on the positive desired state.
Yes. And if you notice a lot of internal chatter, You're in your head, not your body. Nervousness does that. Trust your body.
How to get back in your body if your mind wanders.
Simple steps. 1, notice you're in your head. 2, congratulate yourself. Awesome, caught myself. Time to refocus on pleasure. 3, engage senses. 5 things you see, feel, hear. Then 4, 3, 2, 1. Calms the chatter. Being present is palpable to your partner.
Good practical tip. Bonus #3. Get reacquainted with pussy bliss. Sounds fun.
Huh. This addresses finishing quickly after a dry spell. Heightened sensitivity.
Happens to everyone sometimes.
Yeah. He says new partners, if mature, might be fine with it, especially if you follow up with handsmith. Some women even find it hot. Occasional quickies are normal. He jokes about just wanting to live in there.
Relatable feeling. Important side note, though. Respect her no if she doesn't want oral manual after.
Absolutely. Consent always.
Okay, what about the fear? What if she gets mad if you finish early?
He acknowledges it happens. She might be disappointed, and that's okay. Disappointment is allowed.
But
you don't owe her an orgasm or pleasure. She's not entitled, just like you're not entitled from her. Differentiate selfish versus generous lovers again.
right, the attentive versus oblivious partner.
Her orgasm difficulty isn't your fault or problem to fix alone. Your role is to support her exploration. You're responsible for your pleasure, she for hers. Mutual respect is key. Stop if she's sore.
So anger or aggression from her if you finish early is not okay.
Not okay. Same as you getting mad if she stops due to pain. Disappointment,
Yep.
fine. Anger, insults, no. Questions being generous with someone who lacks compassion.
Makes sense. Mutual respect. He adds a side note about long patterns.
Yeah, acknowledges a partner might lose patience with a long-standing issue. But again, sex is more than PIV, learn other skills, and rejects partners who time you disrespectful pressure.
Right. So what do you do in the moment? Shit, I came early. What do I do?
4 options offered. Number 4 is the clear winner. Stay calm, make a joke, laugh it off, admit it. Whoops, finished early. Immediately offer oral manual pleasure.
Why is that best?
Takes the lead, reassures her you're okay, shows you can handle it, uses humor to release tension, shows continued care for her pleasure, prevents awkward pouting. He shares a bad memory of doing that.
Stay cool, joke, offer more.
Yep. Recaps. 1. Calm off. 2. Joke good humor. 3. Offer oral manual. Awkwardness fades fast. Your cool reaction goes a long way.
Good practical advice for an awkward moment.
Yeah.
Okay, last big section. Your ego and you. This looks conceptual.
It is. Uses a diagram. Stellar graphic design, apparently. Explains ego development, babies have none, starts around age 2, no understanding separateness.
Okay. Ego, separateness.
Contrasts with the heart, connected to source God, all-knowing, all-loving. Ego builds barriers as we age for perceived safety, losing heart connection. These barriers become our identity.
Right, the protective shell.
Ego desires love, which is in the heart it feels separate from, so seeks external validation, love, acceptance, approval.
The constant search outside ourselves.
2 main barriers. Who I think I am, pride, comfort zone, and who I'm afraid I might be, fears, insecurities. Shaped by culture, family experiences. Identifying strongly with external validation makes hits harder when it doesn't come. Challenges to fears are deeply painful.
We build our identity around these barriers.
Most people seek external validation until personal growth starts. The paradox. Seeking love internally, ego resists. Seeking externally keeps ego happy, but always seeking.
The hamster wheel of external validation.
Connects it to lasting longer. Ask what feeling pain fear arises if you don't achieve it. That pokes the who I'm afraid I might be barrier.
Confronting the underlying fear.
Recognizing those fears lets you pass through the barriers to the heart, enabling self-validation. Fear of lost bad experiences diminishes because they don't define you. Inner happiness becomes more stable.
And letting go of attachment makes achieving goals easier.
Often, yeah. Less fear of loss, less self-sabotage. He knows it's maybe obscure, advises rereading. Relevant to the book and like happiness. Side note, balance internal-external validation. Heavy reliance on external means look inward, challenge negative beliefs, build self-validation.
Okay, deep stuff on the ego. Finally, the for women section.
Yes, advice for partners of men with involuntary ejaculation. Key point. It's often not voluntary or selfish.
Important for her to understand.
But the man has to want to improve. Why might he avoid talking? Pain, shame, guilt, feeling worthless, fear of weakness, fear of losing her, pressure to fix it alone. Could be fear, could be not caring, but often fear.
So how should she approach it?
Reinforce his valued qualities as a man. Assure support without judgment or losing respect. 0, don't judge or lose respect. Support, Don't coddle.
How to phrase it?
Uses the compliment sandwich. I love you, Woozy. I'd love if we could connect longer sexually. I know this is Mo. Be sensitive. I really like you. Want more intimacy. How can I support you? Love you. No text EDs for this topic.
Face-to-face, gentle, supportive. What if he still refuses?
Might need personal growth or need to talk to someone else. Men fear weakness. Don't judge or insult. Encourage reading the book or talking to a trusted source. Side note on women offended by calling partner king, suggests checking own insecurity respect levels, references Gottman. Mutual respect is vital. Premature ejaculation in established relationships might signal deeper issues. Anger, emasculation. Quote, men want respect. Women want to be heard, understood.
Good points. What about her feelings?
Explains his orgasm likely isn't satisfying due to guilt shame. Advises against why does he get one? Comparisons. Warns against timing, insulting, pressuring, increases anxiety, resentment.
Alternative approach.
Joke, come quickly so you can hurry up and eat me out. Might remove pressure playfully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the book's resolution phase.
Final thoughts. Warns against constantly stopping her just before orgasm builds frustration avoidance. Finish her off when close to rebuild trust.
Good point. Don't tease unintentionally.
Reiterates, her pleasure is ultimately her responsibility. Removing your obligation frees you to focus on your pleasure and the shared experience.
Back to generosity over obligation.
2 goals recapped. Maximize your pleasure. Book's tips help. Achieve continuous PIV without pulling out. Prostate stim mentioned as separate topic.
Realistic expectations.
Quick finishes still happen sometimes. Your reaction is key. Only a problem if it hinders pleasure and desire to improve. Sex is more than PIV. Relax, enjoy, use the tools.
Great wrap-up. So, key takeaways from this deep dive. Understanding that arousal arc, orgasm versus ejaculation.
Relaxation, breathing, the physical stuff like power cocking, varying movement.
And the huge mental game shifting from performance to shared pleasure, ego, self-worth, forgiveness.
Right. Hopeful this dives give a good shortcut to the book's core ideas and actionable steps.
Definitely. Encouraging everyone listening to think about what resonated most, what technique or idea sparked something.
Yeah, explore what feels right for you.
And that brings us to our final thought to leave you with. How might really understanding your own arousal, your desires more deeply, how might that change not just your sex life, but maybe your whole sense of self, your connection with others?
Something to ponder.
Mm.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Let us know if you have follow-up questions or ideas for future topics.